Welcome to the Raise Your Bars podcast, where it's all about elevating your life one step at a time. With your hosts, Chris Baker and Al Rattan. Together, we're here to guide you through the transformative journey of self-improvement and success. Have you ever wondered what behaviors and actions you need to change to achieve the results and success you desire in life? Well, you're in the right place. Each episode, we dive deep into the strategies, mindset shifts, and practical steps you can take to raise your bars. From personal development to professional growth, Chris and Al share their expertise, experiences, and the occasional tough love, all designed to empower you to reach your full potential. So, whether you're looking to make a big change or simply fine-tune your path to success, grab a seat and let's raise those bars together. Now, let's welcome your hosts, Chris Baker and Al Rattan.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of your Raise Bars podcast. Hey, Chris, how are you doing?
Doing well, loving life, keeping an abundance mindset.
Perfect. Well, that's convenient because that's what we're talking about today.
Exactly, right?
Amazing how how we can segue right into our podcast then, eh? So we're actually still in module 2, but we're in lesson 3 of our mindset mastery series we've been doing over the last number of weeks, and we're going to continue doing over the next number of weeks. And today is really on nurturing an abundance mindset. Now, we want to remind you, if you haven't already, you need to go over to our Raise Your Bars Personal Growth Solutions Facebook page and download the worksheets for this week's lesson so you can follow along. And today we're going to talk about understanding an abundance mindset. So again, before we dive into this concept that can truly transform your life, abundance mindset, we want to sort of just cover off of a few things. And that is, maybe it's a little bit of a recap of what we've already talked about, but just to refresh your memory. And if you're just tuning in as your first one in the series, then, well, hey, we can catch you up to date, or you can go back and watch the other ones. So what exactly is an abundance mindset? At its core, it's the deeply held belief that there is enough for everyone, enough resources, enough opportunities, enough success, and enough happiness. It's the perspective that life isn't a zero-sum game where one person's gain is necessarily another one's loss. Now, think about how this plays out in everyday life. Someone with a scarcity mindset sees a colleague get promoted and thinks that should have been me, or now my chances are ruined. Or a person with an abundance mindset congratulates their colleague and thinks their success shows what's possible here, or this inspires me to work towards my own goals.
Exactly. And I think we can all relate to this if we're honest about it. And we see this contrast in how people approach relationships, money, time, and even creative pursuits. So in relationships, scarcity thinks if I help them shine, maybe I'll be overshadowed. Whereas abundance thinks by helping others succeed, we all rise together. With regards to money, a scarcity obsesses over every expense and fears the loss, where abundance focuses on value creation and circulation. And then with time, scarcity mindset rushes and multitasks from fear of missing out, the old FOMO, whereas the abundance prioritizes and fully engages with what matters most. And then lastly, in creativity, scarcity tends to hoard ideas from fear of theft, whereas abundance shares freely, knowing that collaboration multiplies innovation.
Yeah, that's so good. But here's the fascinating part. Our brains are actually wired towards scarcity thinking. Our ancestors needed to be hyper aware of resource limitations and potential threats to survive. And the brain's negativity bias helped keep them alive in a dangerous world. Modern neuroscience shows that our amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, activates more readily than the prefrontal cortex, which handles complex, optimistic thinking. We're literally fighting against our primitive brain wiring when we try to cultivate abundance thinking.
Can be a bit scary, but there's good news, right? Our brains are remarkably adaptable. Through consistent practice and awareness, we can rewire our neural pathways to default to abundance rather than scarcity. The neuroplasticity means that we can train ourselves to recognize opportunity where once we saw limitation. In today's episode, we'll explore practical strategies to nurture this abundance mindset, from focusing on your strengths to consuming positive messaging, building supportive communities, and much more. Now, these aren't just feel good tactics, they're scientifically backed approaches to rewiring your brain for greater opportunity, collaboration, and fulfillment. So, if you're ready to break free from the mental trap of never enough and step into a world of possibility, let's begin with our first strategy. So, Al, take us ahead with looking at focusing on your strengths.
So our learning objective today is to commit to an abundance mindset that allows you to see unlimited potential. So now that we've had a little bit of a review and you can recognize the voice of the scarcity and are ready to break free from this mental trap, here's some ways to do it. So commit to an abundance mindset that allows you to see the unlimited potential in your life. And then don't forget to focus on your strengths. Many of us are tempted to consistently work on ourselves, building skills, taking personal or professional development webinars, or reading self-help books. And these are all valuable exercises that demonstrate a belief in your ability to grow and learn.
The key is don't forget your strengths. Also focus on things that you're good at. Celebrate your wins, acknowledge your victories. Too many people, Al, I don't know about you, but too many people I come into contact with and train say, hey, we got to focus on our weaknesses and work on our weaknesses. And I tell them, no, you got to focus on your strengths. Maybe pick a couple of areas of opportunity that you can build, but find somebody else that's strong in your areas of weakness and partner with them, right? And so that's how I encourage them to do it. And so one of the things here is consume abundance messaging. All right, consume abundance messaging. When you wake up, do you immediately start scrolling social media? Do you read scarcity-driven news stories, which, let's face it, most of them are? Do you obsessively watch the ups and downs of the stock market? Do the movies or TV shows you consume promote negativity, never having enough, or ruthless competition? You have the power to choose to consume positive messages, and that promotes abundance. So read inspirational books, listen to uplifting music, take a break from social media, limit your consumption of news. We're not saying be ignorant to everything that's going on, but don't live in it every single moment of the day. And lastly, and one that most people find very difficult if we're honest about it, but limit your interactions with negative people.
Chris, if I could just back up here for a minute, I'll tell you something. So when I go on to X as an example, so one of those used to be Twitter, go on to X and I start scrolling, I think I can actually feel my blood pressure rising when I'm reading some of the stories that are on there. And I have to, you're right. Limiting my consumption is so important because I feel the anxiety build. I feel the blood pressure going up. I feel the anger rising within me as I read some of these stories. And it's amazing how easy it is to get down that rabbit hole of negativity when you start diving into those things or looking at those things.
Well, and here's the truth and the facts of it as well. Most of those stories are actually inaccurate, right? Most of them. And so what happens is that people see that, and believe it or not, they still believe everything they read on social media, or they read in the news, or they hear people say, and then you form those opinions, and that is what like polarizes people. I have to say, I never look at X, right? I very rarely look at Facebook now. I'll sort of keep in touch with what people are doing, but if I see negative things, I see negative people, I'll either unfollow them for 30 days or I'll unfollow them completely, because I don't want that in my life. So it is possible, but it takes intentional actions to do it.
100%. The next thing, and here's one way you could do it, is hang out with abundance-focused people. And Chris and I are blessed and fortunate to have surrounded ourselves with numerous abundance-focused people over the last number of years, and it's definitely helped shift our perspective and shift our thinking and helped us grow. When you spend time with people who embrace an abundance mindset, their positive outlook will motivate and encourage you. And if you're around people who preach scarcity, guess what? It's only going to bring you down.
Yeah.
Next, share with others. Cultivate an abundance mindset by sharing with others. Your time, your resources, focus, energy, knowledge. This is going to help create a sense of community and fulfillment and will also help you. Creativity and ideas grow when shared with others. So don't hoard them to yourself. Chris and I have done some of our greatest thinking when we've been talking together and sharing ideas. That's how bars came about, was a conversation on Zoom one day when we were chatting. So don't hoard these ideas to yourself, share. This doesn't mean that you should donate when you can't afford to or jeopardize your well-being. Share resources responsibly and with compassion for yourself.
This next part is one of my favorites, and I've been reading this in Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People recently, and it's this: seek out win-win solutions. Now, as you learned in the previous lesson, people with a scarcity mindset believe that for one person to win, another must lose. But modern negotiating practices have turned this belief on its head. The aim is not to crush the competition, but instead to reach a mutually acceptable agreement where everybody wins. Now, leading with a scarcity mindset when in negotiations can lead to reduced income, unfavorable terms, maybe even lost contracts. Whereas having an abundance mindset generates profits, increases the likelihood of future deals, and builds stronger relationships.
If I can stop you there, those are all
Yeah,
good things and what business owners are looking for. So get out of that
exactly.
scarcity mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. And when negotiating anything in your life, right? And you may say, well, I don't negotiate. Well, yes, you do, because it could be a restaurant choice, could be the chores that you're going to do amongst your family, the tasks that people are going to do at work. It could be business deals or project deadlines. You're negotiating all of the time. So try to look for abundance focused solutions that leave both parties satisfied. That's a win-win.
Absolutely. And then stay alert to possibilities. An abundance mindset opens you up to possibility. You literally see more options, resources, and opportunities. And when you hold a scarcity mindset, the opposite is true. Your field of vision narrows. Things right in front of you are invisible because you're so focused and committed to your own view of the world. The famous invisible gorilla study from Harvard humorously demonstrates this tendency in humans. The brain can only take in so much. So if you believe it's impossible, I'll never find anybody, or earning money has to be a struggle, then contradictory thoughts are filtered out.
Right. So train your mind to have an expanded awareness and perspective. Take time to notice your surroundings. Question the status quo. Ask yourself questions like, if I couldn't fail, what would I be doing right now? Stop comparing yourself to others.
This is a big
You
one.
know, yeah, exactly. We've all done it in the past, and sometimes we do it now. And a scarcity mindset can be triggered by comparison. If you constantly compare yourself to others, you're going to fall short, especially if you look at people's lives on the dreaded social media. Right? To create an abundance mindset, what you need to do is celebrate your wins and reward yourself. Reduce the time you spend on social media. We're not saying cut it out completely, but just be aware of it. And then maybe do monthly check-ins and reviews to see how much you've grown.
We want you to review those tactics we just mentioned and test them out. Focus on the one or two that appeal to you. Open yourself up to new ways of thinking and counter the scarcity message you've been regularly bombarded with. Because you know what? We've all are regularly bombarded with scarcity messaging. So what are some key takeaways from this? We want you to nurture an abundance mindset by focusing on your strengths and resisting the urge to compare yourself to others. Mindfully choose the messaging you consume and seek out win-win solutions and be generous with your time, your resources, recognition, and success without jeopardizing your well-being.
Yeah. So we always say, again, you can have all this knowledge, but if you don't apply it and take action, it really doesn't make any difference, right? So the action is the A in bars, and it will directly impact the results and level of success that you achieve. So here's some action steps for you. Where in your life do you negatively compare yourself to others? Write down examples in the negative comparisons columns in your action guide. Then shift the focus to your strengths and write down an example of how you excel, or how are you making improvements in these areas. The second step is to consider what messaging do you consume that promotes a scarcity mindset. List out some examples. Maybe you sort of monitor it for a day or 2 days and write down how you spend your time each day. And then as you review it, look at it and say, well, which of those were promoting a scarcity mindset? Refer back to the lesson and choose those 1 or 2 tactics to counter that negative messaging in your life. Maybe you're limiting the time you spend watching the news or scrolling social media. Maybe you listen to uplifting music, read some inspirational books, etc. People would sometimes tell me, oh, I don't have time to read. And I'll say, yes, you do. Because if you read 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, you will get through at least 1 book, if not 2 books in a month. Right? So you can do time if you choose it. And again, this activity will show you how much time you spend scrolling on social media. I guarantee for most of us, it's a lot more than 20 minutes a day. If you want to take this further, commit to a 7-day scarcity fast. All right, remove news alerts from your phone and stop watching cable news. Limit time on social media, or here's a novel idea: take a social media break. Listen to that uplifting music we talked about and consciously curate the messages you consume for a whole 7-day period. After that 7 days, write down your observations. How difficult was it to avoid scarcity messaging? How did you feel when you focused on abundance instead of scarcity? What positive impact do you think regularly focusing on abundance could have on your life? And all of these reflection questions, you need to spend time working on these. Don't just quickly jot them down and say it. Is really dive deep on this and understand it. So action step number 3, brainstorm ways you can be more generous with others. What unique skills do you offer? How can you show people that they're important to you? How can you share accolades and recognition? All key things.
And then one last action step: train your mind to have expanded awareness and perspective and cultivate an abundance mindset. Answer 1 or 2 of these big picture writing prompts in your action guide, okay? If I couldn't fail, what would I be doing right now? When I have an abundance mindset, I can fill in the blank. Wouldn't it be amazing if my life is full of possibility because, and you'll see more listed in your action guide. So fill those out. Spend some time reflecting on this lesson today. Listen to it again if you need to, and really focus on building that abundancy mind. Chris and I focus on daily. And you know what, folks? Sometimes it's going to be hard. And like we said earlier, sometimes you need people in your life, positive people in your life that can uplift you. And I know that, and Chris and I have mentioned this before, if either one of us are having a bad day, we can message each other and encourage each other to focus on the positive versus the negative. And it's so important to have people like that in your life. So,
yeah. Al, can I add something just
please,
here? I know we're sort of at the end of the lesson, but what I encourage everyone to do here as well is when you are answering these big picture prompts, is don't think within the limitations that you believe exist at the moment, right? Don't write them into what you think is possible, right? You really want them to be those big, scary, audacious goals that may or may not come true, probably won't come true, right? Think big, because the success of this and the success of an abundance mindset is not in the destination, it's in the journey.
Absolutely.
And if you set this too low and you achieve it, you'll slip back into a scarcity mindset, because you'll naturally come into the thought, it's like, hey, I've made it. No, you need to keep working to it. So one of the questions I always ask people is, if you could design and create your ideal life, what would it look and feel like? And be as descriptive as that as possible. And again, don't think in terms of financial limitations, what you believe is possible, what other people tell you is possible. Don't think of that, right? Big picture, that huge vision of something that, again, it just keeps you moving towards it and keeps that abundance mindset.
Amazing. Hey, folks, again, I hope you got some value out of this today. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, if you're a business owner and you're looking to grow your bottom line profits and you need to have a conversation with Chris and I, you can start by going to raiseyourbars.com, watching our short webinar, and then reaching out to us, because we can help you grow your profit margins by 25% or more in 2025. Have an amazing day. Thanks for tuning in. Take care. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Raise Your Bars podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please consider sharing it with your family, friends, and coworkers. We would sincerely appreciate it.